In studio with us, we have the wonderful, the debonair, the mildly angered. No, I'm just kidding. We had a very funny moment that happened off air, and I'll leave it to ourselves to chuckle about. But we have Sher Thompsen from the United Way of Cast Clay. So good morning, Sher.
Good morning.
Sher, have you been on radio before?
Many times.
Okay, so you were a seasoned veteran.
Well, sure.
Sure, yeah, I appreciate that. Before we dive in, Sher, you have moved maybe more than anybody in the history of the world. Is that a correct assessment?
We've moved quite a bit.
Okay,
yeah.
Tell me about that.
So Joel and I have had 26 homes in the last 25 years. So we like real estate.
Oh my gosh. And so we're not here to talk about real estate though, although I hope that number 27 is going to be the $2.5 million place on Rose Creek that I think you would love, because you love pools, and I think that's going to be your place.
Well, we always love to look as well, so you can come and show it to me anytime.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I don't think the United Way is going to pay you a big enough salary to go and buy that house, but instead, the United Way is doing some great things here in this community with their funds. And so please tell us and give us a landscape of a sort, Sher, of exactly what the United Way is if somebody out there doesn't quite know and understand.
United Way is an organization in this community that is all about driving social change. And so what we mean by that is we know that every community has needs, and ours is not unique in that way. This is an amazing place to live, but there are still needs that exist here. And so United Way works across nonprofit partnerships, for-profit partnerships, and public entities to determine what are the needs that exist in our community, and then what can we do to improve people's lives by creating opportunities through partnership. So United Way is all about social change.
I love that you can summarize that in such a quick way to say it's about social change. What do you mean by social change? Who's getting changed with the United Way?
Well, thank you for asking that clarifying question. For people that find themselves in a state of homelessness, we work to provide them temporary shelter as well as transitional housing. For people who find themselves in a state of being hungry, we work with nonprofit partners who will feed them, who will keep individuals safe that need that safety and protection. So we are involved with many nonprofit partners that will help in a reactive way when people find themselves in a state of need, but we spend most of our investments investing early in the area of education because we want to help create opportunities and pathways for people to get a great education so that they can be income stable.
That's a huge thing. And for those of you just tuning in, we have Sher Thompsen with the United Way, and we're talking about the impact that the United Way makes in this community. You said two things that I think are big ahas. You said that there's a reactive portion to the United Way. And I have a background of working with the homeless and people in this community as well. And oftentimes people struggle to give a handout, right? And not saying that there aren't great people with great giving hearts, but giving a handout often comes with some assumptions. Would you say that's true?
I think that's a very fair statement. And what we're trying to do is to meet people where they're at. And if they have needs, let's help them one need at a time. Let's create opportunities for them. I think it's as simple, Eric, as not saying a homeless person, but a person who finds himself in a state of homelessness.
I like that. I like that. Now, I heard once that the best way to do this is there's a mess that's been made, and oftentimes that mess needs to be mopped up. But I think what the United Way is doing is they're figuring out how the mess was created in the first place, so that can be prevented, so that the mops aren't needed. But as of today, we need mops, and we need to figure out how the mess it was going to be created so we can stop that from happening. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I think that's a fair assessment. You know, when we take a look at our investment strategy as an organization, we want to drive the majority of our investments into preventative work and partnerships and make sure that we can help people to create opportunities so that they don't need reactive services in the future. But we're not going to walk away from those people who find themselves in a state of need, whose basic needs need to be met. And so we're going to make sure and do both. And that's the beautiful part about the United Way investment strategy.
And I am happy to say that my wife and I choose to invest in the United Way. We're a believer in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And in fact, I use that word investment on purpose. And we were at an event earlier this week. One of your coworkers, Thomas, used that, or excuse me, no, my friend Patrick used the word investment. And he had used the word investment because United Way is an investment into people and into communities and into both preventative issues and making sure that the issue is solved if something does go wrong. So as we talk about this, United Way has a big goal for this year, don't they?
Well, our goal is always to slow the cycle of poverty that exists in our community, and I think that's important that we state that. So 1 in 8 people, Eric, 1 in 8 are living in a state of poverty in this community today. And I think that's a part of our job.
That's huge. 1 in 8. What's the poverty line for those of us that don't know?
So for a family of 4, it's living on approximately $24,000 a year. And so 1 in 8
not
people.
A lot of money.
No, it isn't. So take a look around your home or your coffee shop this morning, maybe on the way to church, the cars that you're driving by. 1 in 8 is a pretty high number for this community.
Oh my gosh, it sure is. And there's all these talks and conversations about things that are happening downtown with benches and other things. United Way is talking about kids.
We're talking,
and you talk about the whole, you talk about the macro, but my favorite thing that fuels me are the kids. And I heard a number, is this correct, that there's about 6,000 kids living in poverty in this community?
There's 6,000 kids that are.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sher, that's so many kids.
It's not acceptable. To me, it's not acceptable to United Way. And I don't believe it's acceptable to this community who is so incredibly philanthropic. And so to answer your more specific question, our campaign goal this year is to raise $5.65 million to be invested locally to help those kids and families.
And those dollars stay right here.
Yes, they do.
Every dime.
Yes.
United Way is one of my favorite places to donate to. And I have to tell you this, 2 things. One is my wife is a teacher and she works at a low-income school district. And we get a chance to see the impact that places like the United Way make. And it is profound. For those of you listening right now, the backpack program and the things that the United Way is doing to impact the lives of young people is huge. Now, the second thing is this, is I'm a man of faith, Sher, and my faith drives me. And if I'm not active with my faith, it doesn't feel authentic. And I once heard that early Christians said that if you have more than enough to eat and somebody in your community suffers from hunger and dies, that you're guilty of murder. And that's a big, heavy thing to say, but it's not a socialist propaganda to say that we all just need to share our stuff. But man, we are blessed beyond measure to be Americans and to live in Fargo, North Dakota, and this community, and to hear that there's 6,000 kids that maybe don't know where their next meal is coming from in our backyard is a painful thing.
It is, and I think that's the beauty of this community and why we all want to live, the Fargo-Moorhead life, right? Because we have a community of people who believe in giving back. We have a community of people who believe in getting involved, getting engaged, because they know, just like you and I know, Eric, that when you get involved, you can make a difference. And so there's 6,000 kids out there that are waiting for you to get involved, to give, to get engaged, because their lives will be changed. We can create opportunities and pathways out of poverty when we work together.
Now, Sher, you are one of the top 5 female business leaders in this entire community. You were recognized as that, right?
One of the top 25, but thank you.
Well, I'm going to say you're number 1 in my book because the difference in the impact that you're making is huge. And we've had this cycle of people who have come on as younger professionals in our community who are making such a great impact. Why Fargo for you?
Fargo for my husband and I is because of the quality of life that exists here. When we decided after 15 years of marriage to become parents, it was a great honor and something that we took very seriously. And so there was no better community to do that in than in Fargo-Moorhead.
Well, we love having you here. If people are listening right now and they're feeling a call to action to get involved either with their time or their talents or their treasures, what do they do?
We would encourage them to go to our website, so United Way of Cast Clay, and they can find all the information there.
I love it. And you can always contact me as well. I'd love to be the connector to have you get in touch with the United Way. But Sher Thompsen of the United Way of Cast Clay, the number 1 female in this area as far as I'm concerned. So great to have you on here with us.
Right next to Emily.
That was just voted on by me. So yeah, she gets 1, and my daughter is up there for 1 as well. So
absolutely.
You're number 3 then. How's that?
I'm in the top 5, right?
Sounds great, as we promised. Yeah. Sher, thanks for being with us. Those of you tuning in, stick around. In the meantime, though, go to livefargomoorhead.com. Find out what your home is worth, and you're listening to Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch.